Some of you watching, you're feeling upset. Others maybe feel hurt. Others might be confused. I'm probably dealing with a pretty mixed crowd in this video, but I think, can I safely assume that most of us, we're kind of wondering, what's going on in the world? Why are things happening that are happening? And maybe most of all, is it gonna get any better? Well, please allow me to encourage you, because I believe the message from the Bible replaces fear for peace, hatred for love, pain for comfort, injustice for hope, anxiety for joy, and division for unity. And there's a Bible verse that was brought to my attention recently that I had never seen in that light. And I think it's pretty relevant and interesting for our conversation about this topic. So I want to share it and hear your thoughts about it. So first of all, let's have a look at what does the Bible say about some of these topics that are so debated today. Then we will look at the significance of what is going on in the world and see, does it fit into some bigger picture, especially regarding end time events and Bible prophecy. But before we look at end time things, I want to look at a beginning thing. Most of you probably are familiar with how the Bible starts. In the beginning, God created. And this is an extremely important point, and you need to know why. And we'll get to that in a second. But first I want to look at what happens a few verses later on day 6 of creation week. And I want you to pay attention to what is the main thing that the Bible is trying to communicate in these 2 verses. And how many times is it communicated? Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. If you didn't get the main point, click down here somewhere on the timeline, drag it back about half a minute and listen to it again. See, when God says something once, we better pay attention. When he says something twice, it must be really significant. But here in only 69 words, God communicates the same idea 4 times. That he made man in his image, in his likeness. He really wants us to understand that. And who is this man that he made in his image? When we look at the original Hebrew word that is used there in verse 26 for man, let us make man, the word for man is Adam, which means mankind, the human race. He didn't make one black Adam, one white Adam, one yellow Adam, and a purple Adam that today is gone extinct. He made one Adam, one humankind. All of us, being part of the human race, we trace down our roots to this one man, Adam, who was made in God's image. We all belong to the human family. But listen, if you do not believe that in the beginning God created with purpose and with meaning, but instead you believe that you came from a monkey, that you came coincidentally into being by the whole universe playing a game of chance over billions of years, there honestly, you cannot get upset about racism. You cannot be part of a movement like Black Lives Matter. Why? Because no life matters. We're all just a mixture of atoms and chemicals. There's no meaning, there's no purpose, there's no value, there's no right, there's no wrong, no morality. And your job is to simply stay ahead of the competition so you can survive. And who is your competition according to this theory? Everyone. It's the survival of the fittest. So why then do people join, for example, these kind of movements that go against their own claimed beliefs to support a group that is under attack? Why does the white atheist girl make a sign to join the protest against treating other people differently because of the color of their skin? It is because despite that she shouldn't care about that, according to her own professed worldview, she does believe that people have value. And that, friends, is the biblical worldview. That is what the Bible says about humanity, about God's design. That no matter what color you are, we're all one family, originally created in the image of God. But why then aren't we this big, happy human family today? Well, that's where the page turns. And we talk about this more in other videos, and we'll put links to those resources in the description below. But mankind, represented by Adam, chose to go their own way rather than the way of the Creator, our designer. And just like a room gets dark when you turn off the light, so it got dark for humanity as we turned off God. See, when you separate yourself from the source of perfect love, from unity and peace and purpose, you end up with our world today. A people who are filled with violence and hatred, a people divided, a people seeking their own best, a people who are confused about all kinds of things. And now I want you to watch this. The Bible describes a bunch of characteristics of what people will be like in the end time. And you can just check the ones that you think apply to society today. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 to 5. But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come. Why? For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Friends, that is our world today. That is the degradation of humanity that we're seeing. You know, Jesus said himself in Matthew 24, verse 12 about the end times, and because lawlessness will abound, which means that we're turning away from God and his way more and more, the love of many will grow cold. Alright, so here's the verse that makes these times even more interesting. A friend told me about this one verse that I knew, but not in this way. It's also found in the same chapter where Jesus is talking about these events, these signs of the end of the world, what will happen before Jesus comes again. And I'll tell you soon about why he comes again. Here's the verse, Matthew 24, verse 7. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. When I read this and thought about the nations, I thought this would be like United States against North Korea or Russia or something like that. At least I thought it was talking about countries. But my friend pointed out the original Greek word that was translated to nations. Do you know what that is? It's very interesting. It's the word ethnos, which means a race, a nation. It comes from the word etho, meaning the forming of a custom or culture. So I looked at the 163 times that this word is used in the Bible, and from what I can tell, it seems to refer a lot to people groups rather than countries. So I continued my research and I looked up the meaning of the word race and ethnicity, and I found that there seems to be some form of disagreement about the reach of their meaning. So maybe this verse, ethnos against ethnos, maybe, could it have something to do with racism and the things that we're seeing going on in the world right now? I'm actually very curious to hear your thoughts about this. At least I found that its meaning doesn't seem to be bound by what I used to think to literal nations, countries. It's broader than that. It's people groups against people groups. Cultures, religions, languages, gender, ethnic traits, worldviews. And of course, that is what happens when the love of people grows cold. There's more tension, more anger and hatred in the air. And I think whether you're a believer or not, I think we can all smell it. Today's media, social media platforms, and of course politicians, they make sure that you get dragged into all kinds of discussions about this or about that. And no matter where you turn, you're exposed to statements or agendas or so-called fact checkers or videos, photos, whatever, that create division, that try to set you up against people with another view. You need to be on either this extreme or on that extreme, and reason and humility, they're out the window. And that is where you can see how far we have fallen as a human family. Yes, it's terrible, terrible that George Floyd was treated differently, resulting in his death because of the color of his skin. That's inexcusable. It's sickening. But is it any better to put a bullet in the head of a completely different police officer simply because it made you upset with the police? Is that right? All police officers today are treated as enemies all over the world, which is why you have this whole defund the police thing going on. Look at what our downstairs neighbor girl has drawn. She's not even 10. And remember, I live in Sweden. I don't even live in the United States. Friends, this is crazy. There's just so much hatred in the world, already in our kids, man. They don't even know anything about the world, yet they're already being fueled with this anger. Aren't you tired of it? Seeing those kind of drawings, for example, it just makes me even more grateful that the Bible tells us that Jesus is coming soon. He will sort it all out. All evil will be eradicated. He will make a new earth where there's no trace of evil. Nothing. Just goodness, just peace. Until then, the world will get darker and darker. But friends, you don't personally need to live in darkness. You can turn on the light. You can turn from your evil deeds, evil thoughts and habits, and turn to God and say, God, if you even exist, I'm tired of this all. I don't want this anymore. I want peace. I want freedom. I want hope. I want meaning. I know that there is more. And your Creator, who is waiting for you with His arms open, He will rejoice and gladly lead you out of darkness into the light. You know, governments, secular laws, media, schools, none of those things will ever be able to create perfect unity among people. It cannot even give a single individual real peace. You know why? It's because the problem that we're having is a sinful, corrupted heart. And only Jesus can change that. And Jesus didn't die a bit less for black people than for white people. He didn't die for colors. He died for His children, His precious creation, the human family that He loves so much. And even though we all have brought pain to His heart, have disrespected Him, humiliated Him, mocked Him, rejected Him, He pursued us. Why? To give us what we deserve? To punish us? No, to be reconciled with us. He took the first step for us to be able to reconcile with Him, to find our true identity, value, purpose, meaning. He died for all of us. The same price was paid, an immeasurable one, His own life. And that tells us, in the eyes of our Creator, we all have the same value. And Jesus can restore what we have broken, that image of God in us, that oneness in our family, when we choose to accept Him, to turn away from our rebellion against Him and His design. Galatians 3:2 says, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." It doesn't matter if you are red or yellow, black or white, male or female, from this ethnic background or that one. You are God's child, and He loves you, and He invites you on a journey to a better life. Are you willing to turn to God and give Him a chance? Write down your response in the comments below. Friends, I want to thank you for watching, and if you got any value out of the video, please click that like button, consider subscribing to our channel, click here if you want to watch our recommended video, and down here for our latest video. For Christian merch, you can click over here. And I want to end with a quote from one of my favorite Christian authors. "It is not earthly rank, nor birth, nor nationality, nor religious privilege, which proves that we are members of the family of God. It is love, a love that embraces all humanity." See you next time. Maranatha.